Session is Seeing Beef Better, Drones, Data and the Northern Future. And I would like to introduce Edward Barraclough from Drone Hand. So Edward, if he was a stud bull, would be called NTCA Drone Ranger. He's the bull who watches the herd from above and sees every move before it happens. This bull wants better visibility, better welfare, better decisions driven by aerial intelligence. He's bringing the future-proof technology to the biggest, dustiest landscape in the country. Please welcome our Edward Barraclough.
All right, thank you very much. That was a really interesting panel, and it was all about data and about having better data. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ed Barraclough, the founder and CEO of Drone Hand, and I'm a committee member of Oz Agritech, and it's a real pleasure to be here again. Now, I have to admit, I'm not from the NT. I actually grew up on a mixed livestock property in central west New South Wales, which compared to stations up here, would probably count as not much more than a paddock, but it did mean that I grew up around livestock and land management. And before starting Drone Hand, I also spent several years working in the drone industry. My co-founder is an internationally recognised research data scientist and a leader in machine learning systems. Now, over the past few years, we've been developing a machine learning livestock monitoring systems with producers and graziers of all sizes, as well as feedlots and processors, including JBS Australia, MLA and others. But the idea for this company actually came from a pretty simple moment back on the farm. A few years ago, I was flying a drone over the property, taking some photos at the end of the day, when my now 84-year-old dad looked over my shoulder and said, "You know, if that could check the stock for me, I could stay on the land longer." And I suspect a few people in this room have probably thought something similar at some point, because for a lot of producers, staying on the land longer isn't really about convenience. It's about independence and identity. And that moment stuck with me, because it wasn't about drones, it wasn't about technology. It was about time, visibility, and the reality of managing livestock and land. And that moment really was the seed for Drone Hand, the idea that if we could use autonomous systems and machine learning to give producers better visibility of their livestock, that very data that the panel was just talking about, then we might be able to reduce risk, save time, and help people keep doing what they love for longer and more profitably. And that's what our work has been focused on ever since, helping producers see their operations better. Now, before I get into the technology, I just want to acknowledge something that doesn't get said nearly enough. Northern beef is one of the most sophisticated land management systems on Earth. And for most of us outside of it, don't always see it. Because when people talk about scale in Australia, they usually talk about mining. But beef manages more land than any other industry in this country. More than half of Australia's land mass is used for grazing. That's over 4 million square kilometres, nearly 100 million animals, and an industry worth $100 billion. And so, as you know, these operations are where distance is measured in hours and days, where heat, remoteness, and risk are just part of the job. And when operations stretch across hundreds of thousands of hectares, even small improvements matter. Better visibility, better safety, better decisions, better for the people running it, better for the livestock in your custody, and better for the land being managed, and better for Australia for relying on it. Because when you operate at that scale, one thing becomes incredibly valuable: visibility. Knowing where your stock are, knowing the condition of your infrastructure and the water sources, knowing what's happening before you commit the time and the staff and the vehicles and the aircraft. And that's where our work sits, not by replacing what already works, but by helping producers literally see beef better. Now, if I can just demystify something, when we say AI or machine learning, we're not talking about robots running stations. We're actually talking about pattern recognition. It's software that can count cattle, detect movement, flag anomalies and potential issues, log activity consistently. It doesn't replace sound judgment, and it doesn't replace stockman. It simply scales it, scales that visibility. And when you operate across thousands of square kilometres, scalable visibility matters. A few weeks ago, I did a stock take of one of Australia's larger feedlots. And if you've ever worked a feedlot, you know that doing a full stock take is a royal pain, full of inaccuracies, risk, and at least a full day of all hands with high potential for overstressed animals and injured workers. We did it in less than half a day, using minimal use of pen riders and ground staff, just flew the drone straight over the top of each pen, and our algorithms gave accurate results even through the shade cloth. Now imagine taking that efficiency and translating that over 500,000 hectares. So I keep saying machine learning, but how does a machine actually learn? Machine learning isn't artificial intelligence in this, like ChatGPT. It's more about exposure. We show it thousands and thousands of real examples. Cattle in different light, different breeds, different terrain, dust, heat haze, shadows, and then we label it. We say, this is a cow, this is a calf, this is pasture, this is an open gate, this is a water trough, this is a dam, this one's cast and that one's dead. This one's showing signs of BRD and this one's behaviour might show 3-day disease. And this is a truck where it's not supposed to be. It's a really slow process, and it's the patience in dataset creation that leads to these accurate results. Because over time, it recognises patterns, and when it gets something wrong, we correct it. And that correction makes the system better for the next time. So it's not magic, it's not science fiction, it's just repetition. It's data, just like the previous panel said. And importantly, this data improves when it's trained on a variety of landscapes. So in many ways, it's not that different to a new ringer. The more time they spend on station, the better they read it. So where do drones and innovation actually fit in northern beef? When we look at the scale of the top end, what makes the most sense isn't the short-range drones you can get from Harvey Norman. It's the long-range autonomous aircrafts built specifically for this kind of country. Systems that can cover serious distance. The one on our stand that you may have seen in the foyer, that can fly for about 2 to 3 hours. But we have others that can go for 6 or 8 hours and more. That can operate in heat and dust. That can handle remote conditions with no mobile reception, no internet, nothing at all, and still deliver meaningful visibility across large properties. In our trials, the strongest early use cases are emerging around water point and infrastructure checks, fence line inspections, paddock visibility after weather events such as the recent floods, locating stock, and of course pre and post muster reconnaissance sweeps. These are practical, everyday tasks that consume time, fuel and labour. But that's only the first step. As autonomy continues to evolve, we're exploring how these systems can begin to play a more active role in mustering operations. Not by replacing helicopters overnight, but just by reducing the unnecessary hours in the air and on the ground. So just imagine knowing the stock distribution before you take off, reducing repeated musters, guiding teams with better information, lowering fuel burn, flight hours, fatigue and risk, and improving animal welfare through a more informed, less stressful movement. And most importantly, raising that muster success rate, leaving fewer animals behind. And that's not disruption, that's progression. Helicopters changed northern beef once. Autonomous systems could simply be the next evolution in strengthening it. And if that means safer operations, more efficient musters, and better decision making, well, that's better for producers, better for industry, and better for the cattle themselves. But better visibility doesn't have to come from drones. It can also come from fixed cameras. So far, our 24-hour fixed camera systems are primarily used in feedlot operations with JBS Australia, and that's intentional. We chose feedlots because they provide a structured, high-density animal flow, thousands of animals through a week, which makes them ideal for testing accuracy, movement logging, and traceability support. Here you can see stock coming off the trucks into a feedlot. We're just validating the vendor counts. Our cameras are validating this against the NVD in real time in any condition, day or night. And we're actually very fortunate last year, the team at JBS Beef City independently validated our systems as being 99.9% accurate. We just gave them the login details to the website, and they put through clips of over 3,000 or 4,000 animals, and the algorithm miscounted one at night in the rain. But anyway, needless to say, we went back and we returned and we fixed it and to deal with similar situations. So JBS Australia and MLA have co-developed multiple projects with us now to go far beyond counting. Once you can reliably monitor animal movement and behaviour in a controlled setting, the potential expands. To sale yards, to export depots, to port environments, processing facilities, anywhere that the animals are concentrated, visibility matters. And from a traceability perspective, stronger data continuity builds confidence across the supply chain. And if we can automate it to reduce the amount of time you spend filling in the NILS forms or LPA forms, then even better. And from a performance perspective, consistent monitoring can support condition assessment and operational decision making. But from a biosecurity perspective, this becomes even more important, because we all understand the risk of diseases like LSD posed to Australia. No technology can replace strong border controls and surveillance systems, but improved on-site monitoring, particularly in high-density environments, may support earlier detection, faster response, reduced spread, and a stronger data trail. And that's not about fear-mongering, that's about resilience. Northern beef is globally respected, and protecting that reputation means investing in tools that strengthen traceability, monitoring, and response capability. If we can make our supply chain more visible, more accurate, and more responsive, well, again, that's better for producers, better for trade, and better for Australia. So, up until now, I've talked a lot about visibility in different situations. But let's address the question that everyone's thinking about. Where does this go next? As I said, helicopters transformed northern beef when they were introduced in 1966. They allowed scale and speed that simply wasn't possible before. But you can't deny they've gotten really expensive to maintain, to run, and to keep compliant. And particularly at a time when we're all trying to maximise the return of every dollar spent. Autonomous systems may represent another evolution, not a replacement, but an additional layer of capability. As I said earlier, by augmenting helicopter operations, this could mean reducing unnecessary flight hours, improving stock distribution awareness, lowering fuel burn and fatigue, and bringing ground teams with better data. And the main thing is to bring that success rate up from 80-ish% to 95% plus, and reducing the cattle and dollars that are being left in the paddock. Tomorrow, it may mean autonomous systems during specific stages of mustering in defined environments where it improves safety and efficiency. None of this is about removing people from the equation. It's about reducing cost and exposure, reducing compliance and vehicle use, improving safety outcomes and improving animal welfare through more informed movement, and most importantly, strengthening operational decision-making. If mustering becomes safer, more efficient, and more informed, that's better for the people doing it, better for the cattle moving through it, and better for the businesses running it. But there's another piece to this conversation: workforce. Attracting and retaining skilled people in northern beef is not getting any easier. The younger generations are drawn to industries that feel innovative and future-focused. Meanwhile, the average age of farmers is getting higher and higher. Technology won't replace stockmen, but it can evolve roles. Station-based technical oversight, systems management, data-informed decision-making, operational optimisation, all very fancy words. But most importantly, it can make work safer and more profitable. And if northern beef is going to remain globally competitive, it must remain attractive to the next generation. Innovation is not a threat to tradition. It's a way of preserving it. If we want the territory to be better on beef long term, we need to make sure the industry feels forward-looking, not left behind. Now let's ground this. Connectivity remains a pretty significant constraint in most of rural Australia, and whatever hardware you must use must survive the heat, the dust, and the remoteness. So autonomy must operate safely alongside people, aircraft, livestock, and infrastructure. And as the panel said, some use cases can deliver immediate returns. Others might take a little bit longer. Ourselves, we are trialling, we're refining, and we're building these systems alongside producers and industry partners. And that's important, because innovation without realism loses credibility. And innovation shaped by the people that actually run the cattle, that's powerful. And you have the power to shape what comes next. It's your feedback and your experience that can and should drive how innovation progresses, whether it be earlier stage companies like ours or any of the big names in the industry. My company and other members of the Oz Agritech and most of the Australian agritech ecosystem, we're always looking for new trial partners, collaborators, and even investors who are willing to put skin in the game, whether that's just sharing your generational knowledge or guiding development alongside groups like MLA. Our mandate is to build with you, for you. We don't want you just to buy our products. We want you to build them alongside us so that we can build them better. So, if northern beef manages landscapes at a nation-shaping scale, then even small improvements can be really valuable. Better visibility, better safety, better traceability, better resilience, and better returns. Northern beef has never stood still. From horses to helicopters to global export supply chains, it's always evolved. And it has always risen to meet every challenge from tariffs to floods and droughts. The future of beef will be shaped by strong producers like yourselves. But the tools available to you are becoming smarter, more capable, and more connected. And when those tools can reduce risk, strengthen biosecurity, improve returns and animal welfare, and then support trade confidence, that's not disruption, that's progress. And seeing beef better isn't about replacing what built this industry. It's about building on it and with it. Because if we can improve the safety for the people running it, strengthen the stewardship of the land behind it, build resilience and profitability in the businesses that depend on it, then we're not just talking about drones or technology, we're talking about making northern beef stronger. And when northern beef is stronger, Australia is stronger, and clearly better on beef. Thank you.